Well, thank you very much. It's good to be again in Stockholm. I must say that I hoped to see more of winter here, but you are still lucky and nearly green. But I would like to thank very much Britt-Marie Torstensson for all the colleagues that I know for this idea and for the invitation. I think we need meetings like this and actions like you are planning to have very much today in Europe. And I must say that each time I participate in a debate, in a discussion, in a dialogue about what we as women can do, there is always a beginning of something new coming out from those meetings. So I sincerely hope that there will be also something new coming out of your meeting today, and I wait for it. And I would like perhaps maybe start with something that is a kind of anecdote. I would like to go to a book for a while that you might have also read when you were a child, each of you, or maybe later on in your life. There is a sequel to Alice in Wonderland, which is called Through a Looking Glass, and there is Alice, who is not only a thinker but also a young woman of action, and she meets this Red Queen, and she's stunned at how fast the Queen is moving forward all the time. And then the Queen reveals to Alice that the space in general is divided into squares on the pattern of a huge chessboard, and gives Alice a chance to advance her position to become also a queen herself if she can move all the way to a certain point on a chess in a chess match. And of course Alice is thinking, and she's boarding a special train, and with the special train she jumps over to that place by advancing 2 spaces at once. And I really would like to put the question on the table whether the resource centers can be such a special train for young women of action, and I will come back to that later on. But I also remember a meeting, and I think that maybe some of you participated in that conference that was 3 years ago in October 2007 here in Stockholm, but in a different place. It was Nordic Conference on Women's Entrepreneurship and Regional Development, and there was a Finnish Minister for Employment with us, Tarja Kronberg, and she just started her speech by saying that when we speak about innovation, the first picture that comes into our mind is that of either large and fascinating technology or science park with tall men in their black suits. And I hope that this image of innovator is less and less realistic today, but it still forms a very powerful underlying narrative and our perceptions of innovation. And if we are gathered here to give a new perspective on gender equality, especially in the context of ICT sectors of our economies, it would be also, I think, extremely helpful if we could form a new narrative that would give women a strength and even a thrill of finding out of a sudden, like Alice did, that the world does not have to look like it always did, and that in fact there is always this alternative world in which we can move around with the speed of light and advance 2 moves at once, unburdened by conventional thinking and the dominating gender patterns in that world that we have. Because in the world we can create, we can all become queens by boarding this magic train and winning the global chess game. And I think that there is a reason to have for what we want to do as women, this very powerful narrative of freedom and of infinite possibilities. And this new narrative could give to every young woman an unshakable conviction that life-changing innovation can start in the mind of any single woman. and such single individual woman. And such a conviction, I think, can be an incredible spur to individual achievement and success. We also know that this narrative of power and singular courage is not, in case of women, enough, and at some point even the most motivated women can collide with the society's perceptions and expectations. In other words, with that famous glass ceiling, which I think we should call by its real name, which is just a thick layer of men. And that is why I think, like Alice, women in Europe need to board the magic train that would augment also the intrinsic power with its own steam. And in fact, when I think on also what you are doing, this train is already at the station waiting for willing passengers. And I'm speaking here of women resource centers all over Europe of what they have already achieved and what they can achieve if they spill over what they are doing across Europe. And I think also here of all the projects that are underway within the framework of WINET. And I would say very strongly, because I continue to participate in all sorts of discussions, and I know that things are not done yet. So your work is of inestimable value for the future, I think, because I continue to believe that empowering women as participants today in the labor market, with all the problems we have in the labor market, and entrepreneurs, inventors, innovators, and creators of the new economy, is not only the matter of rightful equality, but also the long-term growth and sustainability of the European economy as a whole. We have the strategy Europe 2020, which is a mixed bag of various initiatives, but I think it is unfortunately, I would say, lacking when it comes to so-called woman factor, because on the one hand, we have everything there, what is politically correct. So we have there the problem of underemployment of women. It also advocates gender equality as a means to increase labor force. It also promotes on the states level the ideas that could help women to better connect work and their private family life. There is the lifelong learning principle also for women there. Work-life balance. There is basically everything that you can think of is mentioned there in this new strategy for European Union. But on the other hand, when it comes to concrete actions, for example, of interest to you today, like the flagship program Innovation Union and the innovation partnerships, in fact, there is nothing in terms of encouragement for to increase also women's participation in this type of movement or concrete actions in the European Union. That's why I keep my fingers crossed, and I will wholeheartedly support what I hope will be the outcome of your gathering, which is the formation of this flagship project on gender and ICT, to be developed, I hope, as soon as possible in 2011. And I think this type of initiative is needed and necessary like an oxygen, I think, in Europe, because I believe that women's role, women's participation, women's actions in this type of projects can really bring a new critical mass, because everything that we need today, which is innovation, information, communication, this is something at which women excel. And if you think back centuries, we have practiced skills needed in these areas of human activity for centuries. That was part of our major social role. So I think we should push strongly today as women for the redefinition of innovation itself, because innovation and innovative approaches do not equal technology or material production only. And those terms ought to refer, I think, today in an equal degree to the ability to form new patterns of cooperation in society,
to doing something for the cause of intergenerational solidarity, to working for creation of a vibrant civil society and life-forming and life-advancing. All those new things that we need so badly today, I think that we as women can contribute much more to this. And social innovation should be treated on par with technological innovation. And ICT, I believe, in its most technical part, should form a life-supporting system for all the growing sectors of the European economy, connected with the incoming demographic or ongoing demographic changes, and also all the demands on sustainable growth. And I also believe that in this century, the labor market, the social services, and also all domestic household arrangements, they are no longer separate areas of our life, and they should be mutually supporting each other in a kind of virtuous circle. So I think that both technological and social innovation should feed off each other with constant information, feedbacks, and resource exchange. And I think we ought to take up all new innovative concepts like clusters, just an example, and aim at building the world-class projects of social and cultural infrastructure, like the care for the elderly or urban youth apprenticeship, or even literacy projects, and many others. And I think this is the way, through those innovative concepts, in which many local, often underfunded, geographically scattered projects could become a part of a Europe-wide network of clusters of hope. And I think what WINET has the experience of this, that we already accumulated of this networking across Europe, could be extremely useful. And of course, we are here in the Baltic region, and also your conference is organized in this context, and I think it's not a very innovative statement if I say that the Baltic Sea region is probably the best place in Europe to think about combining the technological and social innovation. What we hear from recent, I think, analysis of the European investment banks, it is very clear that most of the innovative regions are here in this part, especially Sweden and Finland, and of course Denmark is as well above EU average. And if you think of new member states, Estonia is in fact leading the pack of the 10 or 12 countries that are now also members of the European Union. So it is exactly here where we have this incredible concentration of talent, of means, and infrastructure. And this presents a unique opportunity for this region to become a model macro region where concrete projects and action plans can go through the fast-track application, and we can, I think, here have all the networks in public-private partnerships focused on what we need most, and we can also here, in fact, have this increased value added in regional concentration of innovation. That's why I think it's also your duty to do what you are doing. It's not just only for this region, but I think it's also your responsibility for future of Europe. And I think the Baltic Sea strategy can be so promising because all the flagship projects, in fact, they are based on what is already emerging in the region, which is the Baltic Sea region brand. You might maybe here you don't see it, but I think when we look from outside at this part of Europe, there is a brand, Baltic Sea, which is based on smartness in research and innovation, and also application and cooperation, and there are many examples of projects. And what you are in fact already accumulating as good practice is this capacity to go for cross-sectoral reference projects in innovation. I think Scanbolt Bioregion is an example, but there are many other examples of this type of projects, not only in health and life sciences, but also in social innovation when it comes to education, when it comes also to reducing the cultural deprivation, which I think we underestimate in Europe today. And there is a lot of this, especially in some groups. Or there is this overwhelming, challenging issue of related to the changing demographics of our societies and also of migration. So what I'm trying to say is that management of social changes, of human aspirations, of hopes that we all have, I think will become one of the sources of growth in our economy in this century. And I think we should be aware of this, and we should be well prepared to cope with this and to take this path, I think, towards the future. So it's not only sustainability that will matter so much in the future, but also sensitivity will matter more and more. And I was just thinking, even now on the plane, that in fact probably each of us should now think also of another university degree in psychology in order to be able to direct the stream of social innovation we will need across our society. So we need a lot of imagination and to make the technology really people-oriented to meet individual needs and aspirations. I think we will be moving this way also in the future, and it's not. I hope you would agree with me that that's exactly where women are good, where we can be good, or forgive me, colleagues, we can be much better, I think, on this than many of our male colleagues. So if we agree that we are living in times of many changes, we also have to agree that no change is painless, in fact, that changes are never easy. Even if we agree that we do something, that doesn't mean that it is going to be easy. So we have to be prepared also for difficult changes. And especially when we look around us, we can see with astonishment sometimes the changes that would demand from us also considerable changes in our living habits. We are still discussing this, but I think that this is really what is awaiting us in the future. All those discussions on new models of economic developments, I think they will become in 2-3 years from now really a reality. And today we are just discussing those issues without often going too deeply, but all of us have sometimes just intuitively this feeling that we have to move because we are at the threshold of a major epochal change in our thinking. And I think we will also have to, that's also clear, we will be redefining a lot of well-known concepts like employment and unemployment, because many of our labor market policies, they were conceived in a completely different economic environment context of previous decades, and they do not allow us to respond rapidly and flexibly to changing circumstances, and this very often leads to also dramatic situations in the labor market. So I think we need now really to build and protect our capacity to change. And I think that if you look at what's going on globally, Europe's strengths will most likely be coming from creative industries, cultural sector in general. What we also put into the Baltic Sea strategy under this heading of promotion service innovation. So I think that this region is indeed the best attuned to these coming changes, and also probably the most open to the future. And I would even venture to say that the Baltic Sea regions, thanks to this multidimensional Baltic Sea strategy and also this attitude of cooperation that you can find here, can be called or can become a leader in Europe's march towards this new frontier of innovation. And I think it's not par hasard that exactly women discuss here the innovation. There are not so many meetings like this across Europe. And I would like to conclude by saying just a few words on this connection between women and development. I would like to use the description by Zygmunt Bauman, who is a Polish sociologist who some time ago his warning, in fact, has warned us against the formation of the two categories of citizens in Europe: the global citizen, highly skilled worker, the winner in the knowledge economy, and then the local, the unskilled, excluded from the formal economy, the loser, in fact, in this process of globalization. And somewhat modifying this observation, I would say that the fact is that for a very, very long time, I think in Europe, the majority of women were considered as those local citizens, even if they were highly skilled and more resilient to adapt to the demands of the world beyond their traditional place. And the global citizen was usually male, even if he had lower level of education and also less transferable social skills. And I think today we have to do everything that all our citizens become global, to see that all our citizens become global, because we need all human capital that we can get. And human capital, I think it's worth of reminding from time to time, does not have gender as such. So I think only those who want to exclude, to stigmatize a large portion of our society still think of gender as something that is a reason to erect barriers. I would like to say that we should use the Baltic Sea strategy and initiatives like yours to do away with this old rhetoric or narrative, with old prejudices, to take women up from the status of local citizen and to prepare them better to become winners in this global chess games. And I think if I just, my last sentence, go back to Alice in the Wonderland, she could, without much effort, jump 2 spaces at once. So I really think that Baltic Sea region women, with a bit more effort than Alice, can also do more. And I would like to say that we in the European Parliament, we are not very active, I think, for the time being in doing concrete things for women, with women together. But I think that through the projects like yours, you could also wake us up in the European Parliament, and I hope that in spring I will do the hearing in Regi committee and invite, as I promised last year, and invite also you to share with, especially now in this context of innovation, but not only, to hear from you also how you can can help Europe to use fully the human capital Europe has, so 100% of it, not just 50% or 60% of it. So with this I would finish, and I just wish you extremely good discussion, and also hope that you can just, it's not a one-off event that you will go home wherever you go, and just continue to work on this same challenge that we are facing, that we are discussing here. Thank you very much.
Please stay if there are any questions.
Okay.
Any questions? Please. It's a very shy.
I see. We are normally shy and modest, and that comes from the decades of being in the second row, second line.
And a reflection or comment?
But I also stay here so we can have also discussion later. So thank you for your attention.
Maybe give you a chance.
We allow for this, yeah?
Yeah. Because I heard you, quite roughly you say that the labor market of yesterday is not the labor market of today and tomorrow. And also if we're looking upon the financial crisis we are living in. And do you think that the results should have been the same that we have experienced if the bankers or the financial advisors should have been more real?
Well, that's a little bit what I think, and I'm not good in this type of thinking. And also I think that we should just now focus on the future, but because we did not envisage the crisis, we did not prevent the crisis. It's not a consolation that we are in a pretty good company because practically nobody did it in an effective way. I think the punishment we already imposed on ourselves was to make a thorough analysis of the crisis. I must admit that I'm strongly involved in the crisis committee in the European Parliament and also in Econ committee, and never ever heard, and myself never ever raised the issue of gender in the context of the crisis. But I think there is a very good study, I haven't seen it yet, I haven't read it yet, made I think by the World Bank, showing that in the member states, in the states in general, in the countries in general, where you have the gender equality better protected or more developed, there have been benefits during the crisis. So the countries, those economies, they coped better with the crisis. And I think that on this basis, we can assume that if we have had the more women in the banking sector, not at the cashier, but at the decision-making level, maybe there will be different. But I wouldn't just bet for it. I just don't know. But I think that we should, no matter what would be the answer, we should just do more for the future, because now it's good to understand what went wrong in the past, but the focus should be now on the future, because if you look at the Chinese, and we don't open too frequently enough our windows, I think, in Europe to look there. If you think of India, they are more assertive than ever, and they are, I think, also going through new models of development, very different in China and India. And we don't know what the years to come will bring. But if you don't know, you just should do everything you can to fully use the potential we have. And for the time being, I think we are not using, not exploiting the fully, efficiently, effectively the development potential we have. If you look at the employment rates of women, so I think that we have a chance now and a window of opportunity, and we should move forward on this. That doesn't mean that we will not need men, but we have to also fully use what we have. And I think it's not just par hasard, it's not by chance that half of the global population are women. So let's do it more efficiently.